All right, for more on today's headlines, I'm joined now by media writer at The Australian, Sophie Ellsworth, and the Deputy Executive Director of the Institute of Public Affairs, Daniel Wild. Well, welcome to you both. Julian Assange, as we saw, he touched down last night. He made a fist as he walked across the tarmac, Sophie. No surprises, the Prime Minister pretty promptly then faced the cameras. Have a look.
I was pleased to speak with him immediately upon the wheels touching the ground. I believe in standing up for Australian citizens. We have got this done.
So what was interesting here, he does a press conference as soon as he could. Once Assange is in the country, he takes a photograph, or his office does, of him on the phone to Assange. He puts it out there. I think he was putting Burley in the water. I think perhaps he was going to do a lot more with Assange, and he's pulling that back. I'll come to that with you in a moment, Daniel. But I'm interested, you know, he has not spoken. The wife and the lawyers have been out fronting cameras. Is he perhaps holding back to get a multi-million-dollar payday with his first interview in Australia?
Well, you would think so, Peter. Look, I don't know that for sure. I have been asking around of if he's got interviews and book deals, and people are very tight-lipped about this. I would suspect that he thinks this is his moment. Maybe he could make significant money out of this. So why would you go out and do a heap of interviews when you could secure a lucrative television interview or perhaps a book deal?
Or perhaps even a seat in the Parliament. We'll get to that in a moment. Daniel, Andrew Clennell this afternoon said there was word around Parliament House that he was going to turn up to question time. Go back to the point I sort of alluded to there with Sophie. I think Labor thought this would be a bit of a payday for them. I think they were going to do a hell of a lot more with Assange. I think they've pulled this back. What do you think?
Well, I think you're right about that because Labor has these two issues at the moment. The first is that it is being led by the radical left. This is a political move because this has been going on for 14 years. Why has the release just happened now? Because Albanese is worried about the Greens vote. We've seen that with his capitulation on Palestine. We've seen it today on the Environmental Protection Agency. The bill has gone through. They're going to put a climate trigger to do a deal with the Greens, which they said they wouldn't do just 18 months ago. The other point here, Peter, I think is it's sort of come home to them that they're not talking about the issues that Australians are concerned about. They're talking about issues that are of interest to the political class, to the inner city elites, but to Australians who can't pay their mortgage, whose energy bills are going up. They look at those images of Albanese and Julian Assange and they say, is this government really fighting for me, or is it actually just interested in its own pet issues?
Like the PM 3 days of the tennis, like the PM turning up to events on the red carpet, I think that's where Australians are sitting around the table at the end of the month trying to make their bills add up, and he looks like he's just living the high life on the taxpayer and loving every minute of it.
Well, you'd be hard-pressed, if you're someone at home right now, you'd be hard-pressed to look back on the last 2 years and find what has this government actually done for me to improve my life and that of my families. We've had mass migration, which has made housing unaffordable. We've had net zero policies that are making energy bills unaffordable, and we've got cultural disintegration and a lack of social cohesion because the government refuses to provide leadership on those issues. So on any of the big issues, I don't think the government's kicking the ball forward for those, you know, on the street.
And of course we fly home the criminal of Assange, and he is a criminal, he's a declared criminal now, convicted felon. We fly him home on a private jet. Most Australians can't afford a trip on Jetstar up north where it's warm at the moment, but he gets a private jet.